reminds me of in the 1960s, there used to be a saying that if you weren't a liberal when you were 20, you didn't have a heart. But if you weren't a conservative by the time you were 40, you didn't have a brain. So I think our philosophy says, why can't you have a heart and a brain together? That's what freedom's all about. But in a revolution, you have to strive for what seems like the impossible and put the energy into it. You have to have passion. You have to use reason. It's emotion and it is passion, but it also has to make sense. The reason, it has to have reason behind it. Think of the individuals behind the revolution, our revolution. They said for 100 years they talked and studied and understood what property rights were, and they were well versed, much more so than so many of us are today. But the revolution, the intellectual revolution that we're talking about, has occurred now for several decades. It didn't just pop up 4 years ago. What's popping up now is the translation of the intellectual movement is popping up in the political atmosphere now. And but for 30 or 40 years, we've had these think tanks, these people writing, and more professors than ever teaching sound economics. So the groundwork has been laid, and that is why it's coming about now, and we're seeing this. We just don't know the timing. The one thing that we know for certain, if we sit on our hands and we do nothing, there will be the bankruptcy, and those people I was going to say something else, but I'll call them people. Those people in Washington who are in charge will not give up their power easily. So this is the reason that it's up to all of us. Every one of us has a job to do. One way or the other, everybody's job is maybe vary from one to another. Some people will be very involved in politics and campaigning and running for office and teaching and writing and working on the internet. But it is most important that we study and understand so that we can defend it intellectually and not be put down and be told that we don't care about people. Because if we I believe we all do have humanitarian instincts, if you have these instincts, there's only one way you can take care of the maximum number of people with the maximum benefits, and that's through a free society. History proves that.
Right.
Pursue this with diligence, I believe the results can exceed expectations. I really never expected a whole lot in my political career. Matter of fact, I didn't even expect a political career. I just wanted to get a few things off my chest. And therefore, I wanted to just lay it out on the table, and I was sort of pessimistic and thinking, well, not many people would listen. But I did talk to a lot of people in my congressional district, and they were receptive to these ideas. Now the audiences are bigger, and the crowds are more energized. The message is being spread, and this energy that's coming from the younger generation and the incorporation of all age groups now, and with the use of the internet, all this is coming together, and the need is so great. I think the last 4 years, things have accelerated because of the need. People are sick of the world wars, and they're sick of the spending. They know these debts are horrible, and the students coming out of college, they may have a huge debt and no job, and they know there's something deeply flawed with the system and that we need to change it. Thomas Paine said the harder the conflict and the harder the job is, the more glorious is the victory. So it will be difficult, and the work will be hard, but if you sort of accept what I'm saying, you cannot be comfortable unless you pursue it. You'll have to do something because you're in a minority. It is never 51% who get up and say, okay, we all understand it now. The founders, the people who orchestrated our revolution, some people said it was 3 or 5 or 7%. And yet most people will listen to others who have studied, understood, and influenced other people. So that burden falls on individuals who say, I know there's something wrong, and I think I have it, put it together, and I know what's wrong. It's a great idea. It's an American idea. It's a moral idea. It's a constitutional idea. And that obligations fall on us to do our very best to bring this country together, because the message of freedom is popular. It brings us all the diverse elements in a society together to strive for this one goal, and that is to live in a free country. For me personally, living in a free country means that this is the best opportunity to strive for excellence and virtue. This should be a personal goal for satisfaction's sake. Some people get a lot of satisfaction from different things, but the one thing, though, working hard and taking care of a family and being prosperous is satisfying. But if that is the only goal in life, it doesn't work so well. And I think that is one thing that happened to us in a country, is that we were so prosperous and so wealthy, we concentrated on the materialism. We used government to use force to redistribute wealth and supply this, take care of the special interests, and we forgot about where wealth came from. And now wealth isn't there. The money is not sound. The economy is not sound. So once again, if we want to live in a prosperous country, we have to think about where prosperity comes from. And it comes from work. It comes from work and effort and savings. This idea that savings are silly, that liberal economists will tell you, that is silly. Savings is worthwhile, working hard and having a product and having a service to give. This is what makes capitalism and free markets work. And it isn't the fact that government redistributes wealth or think that they can get wealth out of a printing press. It doesn't work. But we're in an age now where there's not a whole lot of confidence in government. You say, well, isn't that terrible? No, I think it's great, because because if you don't have confidence in the type of government we have now and what we've had, I think that's the beginning of wisdom. You challenge things, and we still have enough freedoms to challenge. We have enough freedoms to come here. Sometimes I'm not quite sure that the elected process is perfect or not, but it's the only thing we have to work with right now. But it does annoy me to no end that when we have a foreign policy that says that what we need to do is promote democracy around the world by force, and we make, and like Wilson said, we have to make the world safe for democracy. So we gather up our men and women, we send them overseas, we invade country, we occupy, and we say, we're gonna make you have elections like Americans have. We're gonna make you Democrats and keep voting. So sometimes they ended up actually having elections. Then they elect the wrong people, and we won't accept the election. But here in this country, it is sometimes very difficult, and competing. So the two-party system is deeply flawed, and having true competition is very, very difficult. But people now, when they understand this issue, right now the vehicle has to be in the political system. And someday maybe that can be improved. But we still have enough freedom. I think the internet obviously is very, very important. And being involved, the spreading of ideas. If I had one thing that is the most important to carry on a revolution, is the spreading of ideas. And even in the original days of the founding, they've spread ideas by writing letters and pamphleteering, and sometimes they just did it on their own. They didn't have any other vehicle. So the spreading of ideas is key, but acting out afterwards. There are some of my friends who know and understand and think spreading of ideas and intellectually is the only thing that counts, and politics don't count. But eventually, spreading of ideas is important, but eventually you have to have political action. The founders practiced political action. They knew the fundamentals of what tyranny, the bad part's tyranny, and they wanted to change. So they were able to translate that into demanding their freedoms, and that is why we were introduced to a society that we've had. So we have been blessed, but if we don't do something, we will lose it. And I think this is what the people are understanding in this country like never before, that we're on the edge of something where it's not going to be maintained. The world financial system is worse than anything in my estimation, in the history of the world, because it's a global economy like never before. It's based on a single fiat currency, the dollar, like never before. Debt is unbelievable, and just because we've been taught in school that debts don't matter, and if you have problems with debt, you get more, try to tell that to a student that's getting out and has debt and says, oh, that's okay, you don't have a job but you have this debt, you have to run up some more debt, go get another credit card. We know that doesn't work, and it doesn't work for a country either. It doesn't work for the entire world either.